thank you once again for joining us. I appreciate it so much. Tell me just a little bit, I read your bio, but I would love for you to tell me, you've been doing this for how long and what is this? It's the parenting and counseling. Tell me about yourself in a snippet.
Yeah, in a snippet. So I travel and write full-time for parents. I'm trying to equip and encourage them to be able to raise their children and teens to be the people that God made them to be.
All right.
So that's kind of the big picture. So on a smaller scale, kind of a big part of our organization is trying to help parents to navigate technology because our kids we're all just flying by the seat of our pants as parents trying to keep up with what's going on with our kids. And so it's really just equipping them with some tools, some resources to be able to talk about things like sexting and texting and video games and digital pornography and how to help your children protect their digital reputation and those kind of things.
You have children yourself?
I do, yeah. My son will be 18 in just a couple of months, and my daughter is a sophomore in high school.
So you've been through all of this yourself?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. We've lived through both the glory and the gore of it. Yeah.
What are some of the issues that you find that all parents are dealing with when it comes to social media? Is it that they're not aware exactly just what all is involved as far as social media and the texting goes? Or is it something else that you find to be a common thread?
Well, I think parents now, they're willing to, let me start over again. I think all parents agree that their children are going to be on social media, but what they don't realize is the extent that they are on social media. When the average teenager now spends 9.5 hours a day plugged in, meaning that they're plugged into some screen that's always in front of their eyes, which is really communicating a message to them, those screens, about who they should be and how they should live their life and what they should spend their money on and what their future should be and what relationships should look like. And so as parents, we just don't understand the breadths to which our kids are plugged in every single day.
When you see parents and their children and you're counseling them and trying to help them through a situation, what are some of those situations that you're finding where maybe they're butting heads or they need help with?
I think a lot of times teenagers, the technology has shifted their understanding of relationships. And so their primary community is found online, is found through their apps like Twitter and Uvu and Instagram and those kind of things, Snapchat. Whereas parents, we still find our primary relationships in the real world. And so there's just this disconnect between what relationships and community is supposed to look like. So many times parents, I think we are just kind of oblivious at times of the kind of relationships our children are having on social media, that now more than half of all teenagers admit to connecting with complete strangers online. The typical parent says that their greatest fear is that their child will be contacted by a stranger online. And it's a well-warranted fear because over 80% of teenagers admit to having conversations with strangers online. Now, of those 80%, 18% of them set up a face-to-face meeting in public with that stranger. So that should startle us as parents, that this isn't just something that's happening online, that online relationship is transferring into the real world. And unfortunately, our kids, they don't have the life experience to understand how the information or the people they're connecting with could potentially be used against them.
It was interesting in speaking to the group of kids and the group of parents we talked to last night. The parents, when we talked to them about some of these abbreviations with texting, it was interesting that one of them made an observation and said, you know, I thought I knew a lot before, but it's been a little while, a year or two, and it almost feels like things have evolved and changed and there's more abbreviations. So when it comes to texting and those kind of abbreviations, how important is it for parents to constantly keep up with what they are and what to look for?
Well, I think technology is one of the let me start over. Technology is the one issue in our lives as parents that changes faster than we can possibly keep up with. And so just about the time that we are beginning to understand things like Twitter, well then here comes the next social media app. Like for instance, one of the top 5 social media apps that teenagers are using now is called After School. I've yet to meet a single parent who's ever even heard of the app. So it just goes to show that we think we know what's happening, but it happens so much quicker than we can keep up with as parents.
So what advice do you have for parents when it comes to keeping tabs on your kids? Because at the same time, you want to give them some space. You want to give them a little bit of freedom.
Absolutely. I think part of, with any area of life, whether it's their finances or schoolwork or technology, that the goal is to teach our children to use these things responsibly. And so I want to give my child some freedom to connect with friends or to hang out on websites or send messages, as long as it's being done in a safe environment. And so part of my job is when they're younger, say in those tween years, 8 to 12-year-old, that my primary job is to protect you and to guide you. Now, as they get older, my primary job is to help partner with you, to walk with you in using this stuff. And so I think sometimes teenagers think that if I'm connected with my parent on social media, then my parent wants to creep all up in my business. And that's not my job. That's not my goal as a parent. My goal is for us to all live out in the open, is to live out in the open, and the way that we use these things is it to say, I have nothing to hide from you as a dad, and so I hope you have nothing to hide from me as my child.
Talking about pictures now, exchanging photos, and they become more and more risque. This group of kids, they had never done that, they told me, but they said that it's commonplace. People talk about it all the time. Do you feel at that age group where you're first getting your cell phone and everybody's connecting, do you think kids understand at this point? It just seems like everywhere they look, on the news, everywhere, that there's all these warnings about things like this, so they hear it, but is it just not sinking in?
Well, I think part of the difficulty with teenagers, when they hear our warnings, they hear our messages about how these information can be used against them. The problem is that teenagers live in the here and now, just like we did when we were teenagers. And so they're not thinking about 5 weeks or even 5 years from now. They're thinking about where are they going to go this Friday night, who are they going to hang out with on Friday. So they live in the immediacy of life. So they don't understand how if they share a photograph or a text message with someone, that it really can be screen grabbed, screenshotted, and then saved forever. There was a recent survey done by 17 Magazine in conjunction with the Center to Prevent Teen Pregnancy. And they asked teenagers, how many of you have had sexual conversations through text messaging or social media? And over 40% of all teenagers said that they had. They also asked them, how many of you have sent or received nude or semi-nude photos of yourself to someone else? And 20% of them said that they have. So even though they hear our messages, there's a disconnect between what they hear and what their reality is.
I'm looking at, from your website, at this list of instructions and how-to tips that you provide for parents when you speak with them and go on speaking engagements as well. You have some different suggestions, like setting time limits or using a contract. Can you talk about some of those suggestions and tools that you tell parents about?
Sure. I think when your child does... Yeah, my phone's ringing.
That's okay.
Give us just a second.
Call from Shelby County.
It's election season here, so our phones are ringing about every 30 minutes.
Oh.
With, some candidate doing push polling and things.
Gotcha.
Okay, I think it's over. So the question was what...
just talking about some of the tools and the tips that you give for parents.
Yeah. So I think it's important that whenever the age comes that you do allow your child to be on social media, that you help your child to understand that social media is a privilege, not a right guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. And so just with every privilege, there has to be responsibilities that come alongside that privilege. So one of the things that I encourage parents to do is to sign a social media contract with your child, or to sign a cell phone contract with your child that just ensures that we're being above board and we're all agreeing ahead of time about what your responsibilities are and what I'm expecting of you as your parent.
How do you go about, the kids were trying to give us ideas of ways parents can communicate with them when it comes to checking cell phones. I mean, do you do that once a week? Do you do it randomly? Do you say, okay, time, give me your phone? I mean, how do you go about checking them?
Yeah, so the way that I do it with my children is it's just a random check. So they never know where I'm going to ask. And, you know, I've been lucky, been blessed to have two kids that really do make wise choices for the most part. And so when I ask, you know, can I see your phone, or I need to see your phone, then you got about 3 seconds, you know, to hand it to me. If you say, oh, I don't have it with me, that's the wrong answer, because you always have your phone with you. You know, it's like the fifth appendage of your body that's always attached to you. And so we just ask for the phone, and then I do a random check in about 2 minutes. You know, through that 2 minutes, I'm going to ask 2 questions, such as, hey, how do you know this person? Or where did you meet him? Or how long have you guys known each other? Because I just want to hear the story behind the answer. So the story is, oh, well, she's on my cheerleading squad at school. That's a great answer. If the answer is, oh, well, he was this guy that I met at summer camp last year, and that's his best friend back home that's a skateboarder. I'm going, oh, so you've never met this person in real life? Well, no, not really. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and delete him then. You know, because I want my children to have the freedom to be able to connect with people on social media, but to make sure we're being safe by only connect with people that we know in the real world.
When it comes to texting and abbreviations, the parents we spoke with were shocked. And we only talked about the tame ones.
Yes.
So, is it important for parents to keep up to date on that? Is it this whole world? I mean, like, how... Is it something that they just, you know, glance over their shoulder and look at? Do you read up on it? Do you study this? What advice do you have when it comes to texting, abbreviations, and the lingo that parents may not know?
Oh, I think on one hand, we need to give some serious props to this generation, that they get accused of being lazy and slothful, but they've created their own lingo consisting of 20,000 new words and phrases that are made up of individual characters and pictures, you know, and emoticons. I'm thinking that's pretty intuitive that they can create their own new language. Now that does put us not exactly behind the 8 ball as a parent when it comes to deciphering that language, and therein some of the danger. Now as a parent, I can only deal with what I know. And so yes, I want to be educated and I want to be in the know of what's happening with my kids and how they're using it, but I can't allow myself to go down the trail of fear. You know, the path of fear of always wondering, well, what does this message mean? Or who are they connected to? Or where are they going to be now? Because fear is immobilizing. So I always deal with truth. So my goal is not that I have to understand every single emoticon or every single text lingo, but that I want to live in the relationship of truth with my child. Like that I will always be honest with you, and I'm asking you to return that by being honest with me.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you feel needs to be said? Because I know you cover a lot of ground when you are in person. Are there any other...
Sure. I think we can do one more thing.
Yes.
A question of maybe how should parents and teens be connected on social media? You know, do you feel like parents should be connected to their teenagers, or is that their own territory?
Yes. That would be great.
Yeah.
Because some of them were last night, some were not, and the kids were okay with it. So.
Yeah. I think a lot of times teenagers are afraid of being connected to their parents on social media because they think their parents' default is going to be to be all up in your business. And again, that is not my job or my bent as a parent. But instead, hey, we live in right relationships in the real world. And just as we are in the real world, we're going to do the same thing online. So if you're connected to people on Facebook, then you're going to be connected to me. If you're going to be connected to people on Twitter, then you're going to be connected to me. Because I'm with you. I am the most important relationship in your life as a parent. So I want to be where you are as well.